The following program contains the opinions of the host, guests, and call-in participants. These do not necessarily represent the views of this show's distributors or sponsors. This program may contain obscene, profane, or otherwise objectionable language. Viewer discretion is advised. Hey, coming to Cordless, everybody. It's Wednesday night, June 19th, 2024. It's 11 p.m. on the East Coast of the United States, 8 p.m. on the West Coast, 2 o'clock in the afternoon in Sydney, Australia, and here where I'm sitting right smack in Ilhan Omar's congressional district in Northeast Minneapolis. It's, what time is it? It's 10 p.m. Central Daylight Time. That's right. I'm Jim Peters, and welcome to another edition of Jim Peters at Night. This is episode number 126, if you want to mark your scorecards at home. It's really funny. I was watching this afternoon on YouTube. I was watching an old episode of The Tomorrow Show. Now, this really, really dates me. If you're under 50, you don't know what I'm talking about. But at any rate, Tom Snyder did The Tomorrow Show after The Tonight Show on NBC for about, 8 years, I think it was, in the late 70s and early 80s. And the episode I watched was from 1979. And man, that guy looks like me. Or I look like him or something. Now, I actually knew Snyder. That was actually kind of cool. So him and I had we weren't good friends by any means, but we had a ongoing email conversation for years. I won't even tell you how it started, but he was a pretty cool guy, and we're doorknobs. I don't know what to tell you. At any rate, yeah, it's really interesting. Now, this is our second show back from my surgery. I got a clean bill of health from my doctors today. I started driving. That's good, I guess. I'm still limping around, but I'm not using either the cane or the walker anymore. So I guess I'm doing it. I'm getting it done. As you like to say, I've got it going on. So what do we got going on tonight? I'll tell you what we got going on. It's our monthly appearance of the dynamic duo. That's Jennifer Oliver O'Connell from redstate.com and asthegirlturns.com, and Jeff Meyer, the CEO and publisher of Conk.com. They join us for the hour. Going to be an interesting discussion. I already talked to Jeff. I got this all teed up because, man, there's shit going on. I don't know about you. It's like we have to, discussion must be had. Tomorrow night, normally we do a show. I'm taking it off because I'm still kind of recuperating a little bit. I figure I'm going to be back to complete 100% by Monday. Monday, our guest is Michael Harrison. He's the CEO and publisher of Talkers Magazine. He's on a I was going to say book tour, but it's not really a book. He's on a music video tour is what he is. So he's a member of the band Gun Hill Road. Now, talk about old codgers. Gun Hill Road was founded in, I think, 1966, I think. These guys have been making music for over 50 years. Same four guys, too. And so they're basically an old band from the psychedelic Summer of Love thing from the 1970s, 60s, no lie, and they survived. They've been around the entire time. They have a new album coming out. And the amazing thing is, and I don't know if this is partly because of Michael's influence or just because how they've kind of folded into this. They do songs that are really issue-oriented, and because of that, they get played a lot on talk radio, of all things. That's their primary outlet, which is an interesting thing for a band. You saw how many bands, end up on talk radio. Well, not many, and they do. So Michael's going on a tour. I don't know if it's virtual, real, or both, but he's going to be here on Monday. They have a new music video and a new song out called Artificial Intelligence. Now, I downloaded it this afternoon to prep it for broadcasting for the show on Monday, and not to diss their previous efforts in any way at all. This song is particularly good. They did a really good job with this. The music is fantastic. them, as are all their music videos. That's visually very interesting. The song's called Artificial Intelligence, and it's about that. And Michael's the lead vocal. Now, normally he isn't, but on this song he is. He is. He actually does the lead vocal on this song. So we're going to talk to him about Gun Hill Road, and also the music they're putting out, and also just artificial intelligence in general. The song's about the fact that this stuff's going to kill us or whatever. It's really amazing. I mean, there's so many different, and I don't know what to think. There's so many different takes on whether this is going to be good for humanity, bad, or the end of civilization as we know it, or I'll tell you one thing that I'm pretty convinced on, and the economists I talked to on the show, I'll be interested to see what Jeff thinks about this too. Kind of think I'm nuts, but I do think that this might be the beginning of the end of long-term human employment on the planet. I think that we might now finally be getting to the point where machines are actually going to replace humans. Now, in the past, Barack Obama went out. He didn't know shit about economics. I have no idea. He seems like a pretty bright guy, but he doesn't want to dirty his hands with that stuff. He used the example of bank tellers and ATMs. The problem with that example, and I can't remember the exact term in economic terms. Maybe Jeff knows. We'll ask him in a second. The thing is, ATMs may have replaced bank tellers, but you still need people to maintain and repair the ATMs. And so therefore, from an employment standpoint, there are different jobs. The employment is pretty much a wash. No one's really replaced here. I mean, you were replaced specifically in your specific job as a bank teller, but still there's still the equal number of people employed. And I've always said that. I've been saying this for 20 years. When we get to the point where the robots are making other robots, are assembling robots, I think we're screwed. I think it's done. So it'll mean we'll have to make some economic adjustments in this country if that's the case. Now, whether AI is going to kill us all, I have no idea. I mean, there's very smart people who are actually saying that. Elon Musk is one of them. So, and you can say all you want about Elon, but he's not stupid by any means. So anyway, we're going to talk to Michael on Monday. Now, next Thursday is supposed to be the first presidential debate. I say supposed because I'm not sure Biden's going to show up. And the real amazing thing is this weekend, James Carville, who's like 117 years old. I mean, you think Biden's old. Carville's been around forever. He doesn't think Trump's going to show up. And that's complete utter bullshit. Trump would show up. He would show, he'd show up for steaks. I mean, he loves a challenge and he loves talking. He's going to show up. Biden, I don't know. Now there's talk, there's scuttle we've heard, and we'll talk about this with a panel too. There's scuttle in the Democratic Party that if Joe does really badly on this debate, they're going to replace him on the ticket. There's more and more talk about replacing Biden on the ticket. I got to admit, at this late stage, and also the fact that it's plainly obvious Biden does not want to be replaced, I don't think it'll happen. But I've been wrong before. Like I said, I was wrong once in 1972. I was in high school. So we'll find out about that. But I'm still hesitant on whether this debate's going to come off. I really am. Normally, around the last day of the month, our broadcast day of the month, we have our month in review panel. So we're going to combine it this coming Thursday night, a week from tomorrow, on the 27th. We're going to have our month in review panel, and we'll go over the debate, which means normally when we do this, we start the show right as soon as the debate's done. I do not know when the debate is scheduled to start. It's going to be 90 minutes. I know that, but I don't know when it's scheduled to start. But we will certainly go live as soon as the debate's over. So, and to my amazement, I'm kind of surprised. The live viewing on our debate shows is pretty high, relatively speaking, to the other shows we do. I mean, I'm not going to kid you here at all. The vast majority of people watch this on demand. We don't, as far as the actual live broadcast, not many, but most people watch on demand. But for the debate shows, we do seem to get a pretty good live audience. So anyway, that's next Thursday, and we'll see what happens. So we're going to have the month in review panel on either way, but I just have the strange feeling Biden is going to find some excuse to get out of this. I do. So Who's our sponsor? Our sponsor is Kong News, and here it is. Right this is the front page of Kong News in real time. Jeff Meyer, who's coming on in just a minute, he's the CEO and publisher of Kong News. This is a news aggregator. It's the finest news aggregator on the internet. I'm not kidding. I'm not exaggerating. You have to check it out. It's easy to check out because it's completely free and you don't have to register to do this. You just go to the front page. It's at conk.com, conk.com. And this is the front page of Kong News in real time right now. My picture's on there because they sponsor the show, and it's very nice of them. So there's 75 news outlets that contribute to this, and the servers at Kong go out and get the news every 3 hours. They parse through it. They chronologically order it with the latest news on the top of the page, regardless of the source. So it's not like, you might have seen there's a lot of aggregators where they'll put all 10 articles from one source grouping together and another 10. No, these are all mix and match. So regardless of where the sources come from, where the news comes from, it's put the newest articles are on the top. The headlines are from the actual articles, and the photos are from the articles too. So if you click through, you don't go to any interstitial page, no ad page, none of that crap. You don't no home page for the website, none of that. You go directly to the article. It's the closest thing you'll find online to a real old-time newspaper. That's what I think. Now, maybe that dates me, but I know a lot of people find old-time newspapers very attractive. So, and I still do actually. So you can't go wrong with this. Like I said, it's not only just free. You don't have to register. You don't have to do anything. The news changes every 3 hours. Every 3 hours, you go and get more stuff. You come at 10 a.m. You can read a bunch of stuff. You can spend 2-3 hours plowing through the front page here. And you come back at like at 3 o'clock, 5 hours later, and 80% of the articles are different. It's a fantastic news source. I use this constantly. I use this to put the show together. I can't recommend it all enough. And you've got nothing to lose. It's completely free. It's at conk.com, conk.com. All righty. Okay. And so we're going to put our panel on now. Jennifer and Jeff are here. And you're going to listen to 12 minutes of my fantastic 12 seconds, not 12 minutes. You don't want to hear 12 minutes of my fantastic composition. You don't. Here's 12 seconds. Here you Did I get this? I got it. Oh my God. I was pushing the wrong buttons there for a second. Hi, Jennifer. How you doing?
Hello. Doing good. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. Hi, Jeff.
Good evening.
You and I talked already, so that was awfully nice. Where are you tonight, Jennifer?
In this great state of Alabama.
Yeah, and Jeff is in his 6-car garage in Prior Lake, Minnesota.
That's right. Yeah. Stick with it. Stick with that.
Yeah. All right. It's nice to see you guys. Here's what I want to start out with. I'm just going to plow right into this because I think this is really important. You guys are in the news business. I kind of pretend to be in the news business. We're all in the news business. The gaslighting involving these videos with Biden, this could not get, they are so, if people thought they were lying before to the public, now it's just blatant, it's untruth. And so they are accusing the Republicans of using fake videos. The videos aren't fake. You can't there's no way. And then on top of that, CBS News says, well, the problem with the video of Biden in Normandy is that it was cropped wrong. And if you watch the whole thing, you'll see it's different. It is different. It's worse. He looks worse. Really, what? So I guess we're going to end up putting up with 3 or 4 months of these people just lying through their teeth.
They've always lied.
Yeah, that's right.
They've always lied. It's just they now have to get to the ridiculous side of it because they can't say we're here to help you get out of poverty or to have a better life because all of that failure is behind them and they're going to pay for that. So now they got to lie about you aren't really seeing the truth. We're going to tell you what you're seeing, and then you'll believe it. And that's where people are walking away in droves.
Yeah, and these are the same people that told us the Hunter Biden laptop was real, Russian collusion. I mean, like you're right. I mean, they have a pattern of lying here, but now I mean, I don't. This is all they got, I guess. I don't know. I'm just dumbfounded. It's like,
Well, they're even creating an entirely new word for it. It's now cheap fakes.
yeah, cheap fake, right?
Yeah, they've taken deep fakes and now they're cheap fakes. But as one commentator said, and Larry O'Connor of Town Hall, he said that, the good thing about them coming up with all of this is that we just keep finding more videos to disprove their point.
That's the other thing. It's like there isn't just like one or two or five. We've been watching this now. We've watched this guy disintegrate now for 3 years. I mean, you go back and watch videos from the 2020 campaign. He's not the same person, even then. And there was rumors he was already going off the deep end even then. And now it's like, I mean, I don't understand this. Even if he was doing an excellent job as president, you'd replace him. He is unhealthy. And at this point, this is elder abuse. I can't really. I'm just dumbfounded by this, totally, completely.
But Jim, you're trying to put rationale.
Yes, I am.
to a whole political party that's built on a bunch of lies.
Yeah,
and
that's true.
It's probably about 80 years of lies, and they always thought they were winning, which for them they were. I mean, my whole life, the Democrat Party has run the state of Minnesota. So when people say this sucks or that sucks, I'm like, I've got nothing to do with it. I've never voted for any of it. I've learned to excel around it because that's what you can do. If you wake up in the morning thinking they're going to help you, you're already behind the 8 ball. But now all this stuff is coming, and we're seeing it. They're trying to quash the polls within the Black community that if they're just these 20-plus-year-olds are walking away, they're not going to argue with their families. They're just going to say, Grandma, they're not going to argue with Grandma, you're wrong. It's, no, I never voted for so-and-so. And they'll vote for them because they know the lie is there. And so they're really going to feel that. I see this election cycle. But in 2026, I think the next one to come to fruition will be that poor white. And I've used this example at church. It drives people nuts. My wife tells me to shut up. I don't know how else to describe it as if you're a poor white kid. So you're a single, you live with your single mom in a trailer park. They're all over the country, right? You can pick poor white kid in a trailer park. Mom's working who knows what to pay for them to try to subsist. Now they go to the common public school, and here's Manuel who jumped the border, and they're sitting in a classroom. Now this will happen next summer or next spring when school starts up, or this fall. And they'll be talking, Billy will say to Manuel, how's it going? What do you think of America? Great, man. I'm living at the hotel and I get to swim in the pool every day. And we get to eat out.
Yeah.
And that kid's going to go home. Billy's going to go home to his mom and say, this sucks. That kid gets the pool every day. Why can't you get me a pool?
Yeah.
And so then those kids are going to quarrel. Mom can't do anything. She's already pinned because of the system. And so this thing's just going to unpeel like an onion. Like I say, I believe the blacks were going to go first. It's just, they know the pressure of this bullshit. They're ready. They can just walk and not have to justify it. It's that poor trailer park livers. They'll be the next one, and that'll be several layers that'll disappear because of the border crisis is going to cause it to come together at the public education house, and they can't separate that.
Yeah.
Well, is there going to be a public education in 2026? I mean, school choice is Louisiana just signed into law. School choice. The public education system they shot themselves in the foot in 2020 with the COVID and the shutdowns, and
Sure.
children irreparably suffered. And they think this parents' rights movement is going to go away, but it's not. So
No.
I don't even know if there's going to be a public education system in 2026. I think enough kids will have either gotten school choice or they'll homeschool, or there's this whole major attack against homeschool. How these children are probably suffering abuse and this is awful, and it's just like no.
Right. Right.
I just read
I just seriously have my doubts that anybody will be left that they can keep pouring this garbage into, which is why they're doing all
and
this more
that's
stuff.
the Democrats it's entirely their fault. I mean, they took this and ran with it and completely screwed it up.
They jumped the shark.
Yeah, just like you do with anything. I just read recently that some guy is homeschooling his kids, and apparently they're just blowing away the standardized testing. And he says we only spend 90 minutes a day actually, in teaching. So he's condensed everything that happens in school down to 90 minutes, and his kids are excelling. And then you wonder. I mean, I look back on my public school experience, like, what are you doing the other 5.5 hours?
Not much. Yeah.
No, not much. No, you're
listening
not.
to the teachers drone on from notes that they've had for 50 years. I mean,
yeah,
that was one instructor that I had. Not a whole lot of teaching going on.
Right, and they filled it with more garbage than more productive teaching. Right, they didn't say to the kids, we're done with this. The 90 minutes of the education part's done. Now it's for the next 5 hours. You get to go work on the stuff you're really interested in: wood carving, engine repair, computer programming.
Yeah.
They won't let them get wisdom. They'll just teach them knowledge to remember stuff and recite stuff. But the wisdom part is totally out of the school program. So I think that the pain that we have to go through, because as the Democrat Party implodes and these groups migrate away from them, all they can do is flail around, and it's going to get dangerous in some towns because that's how they react, And we live in one of those towns where stuff starts on fire, and then all of a sudden it's like, well, we couldn't do anything about it, and we don't want to stop it, and
people are really
Jennifer, this might be a new Mason-Dixon line with that education thing, where the northern part stays government educated and the southern part of the country flips to homeschooling or vouchers. I mean, wouldn't that be an amazing thing after all the history of how that worked before, and now it goes the opposite way? You're sneaking across the Mason-Dixon line to get down there where you can get your kids a decent education and escape the northern.
Or you're just homeschooling. I mean, that is what many parents are doing now is,
my granddaughters.
Yeah.
That's how they, 2 days a week, they go to some farm and learn how to go in the stalls and how plants work and animals work and how to hammer stuff.
They get actual physical education as well as they get practical education.
Yeah, I was going to say that thing.
How many kids actually know where their food comes from?
Right. There's so many different ways to do it, you know, and probably should be, people should be exposed to more stuff, as opposed to, well, Jennifer, you left LA and I left LA. You and the thing about journalists, I mean, I just find this unbelievable. They're living in such a bubble, it's like, and especially of people who work for the established companies. Now, I don't know if you guys heard this. This actually isn't on my outline, but it bears repeating. So at the Washington Post, they ran a hit piece this weekend on their own publisher because he wants to start firing people because their readership is down 50%, and last year they lost $77 million. And he said to the staff point blank in a meeting, nobody's reading your stuff. It's like, and so the staff, instead of trying to like improve or make some changes, they've decided they're just going to fight this. They ran a hit piece on their own CEO. It's like this. Now, when I was growing up, Jeff, and I think you agree with me too, you get fired for that crap.
Well, but back up one step. The meeting that the CEO would have had, wouldn't have said people aren't reading your stuff. He would have had half the staff there, and they would all have said, "What happened to the other staff?" And he would have said, "They're fired.
Yeah, that's
no
right.
one's reading their stuff."
That's right, exactly.
You've got a couple days to get people to read your stuff. But that's the woke culture in corporate America, because they can afford to throw the 77 million. Is that all Bezos money, or is that publicly traded?
No, it's Bezos' money.
It's Bezos.
Okay, so I mean, that's why it's even more woke, because I mean, that's what I laughed about that article. It's like, really, you went into this, that company's going down and you're going to negotiate with the inmates? No,
that's right.
You send half of them out
what
the
are
door.
they doing all over the place? What was it, Google or one of those tech companies where they were holding people hostage because they wanted them to divest from Israel? So
yeah,
right. I mean, this is the nature of these companies where it used to be, you got fired, they locked you out, bye-bye. Now it's this, well, let's negotiate. And, we really don't. And I don't get it. I'm just like, the many people who are looking for work, who would rather change jobs, and you have these people hanging on who aren't doing anything.
But let me ask you guys, where did we get to the point where the inmates started running the asylum? How did this shift happen? I mean, now it's like it's been normalized almost. People do shit because they don't think there's going to be any consequences, and usually there aren't. I don't understand.
And that's why we stopped paying consequences for anything. I blame it when they started with this participation trophy stuff, where it's like, oh, you don't have to do anything, just show up, and so we'll reward you. Yay. And also another thing that I apropos of nothing, but when did everything need a graduation? You're graduating from Head Start and you get a graduation ceremony. I'm just like, there's no big good for the kid, but there's no big milestone in getting from Head Start to kindergarten, or getting from kindergarten to third grade. Why are you doing a graduation ceremony for these children? It's supposed to be when you've done 12 years of education and it makes a difference, or 8 years.
Jennifer, it's important that everybody feels really good about everything all the time.
It's the American problem. It's an American problem. It's a first world American problem. You're supposed to think you should feel good all the time.
Yeah.
And we're the only 300 million idiots floating around the globe that think that's owed to us. Trophies and medals, and I'm a boy, I'm going to compete with the girls so I can win. And that can only last so long. And internally we'll blow up, but externally it's like, if something really happened in America, how much do you think we could unite to deal with it right now?
Well, nobody understands or honors true accomplishments. I wrote about that with D-Day. It's just like, that was real accomplishment. that was bravery. And somebody breaks a nail and doesn't complain about it, and we call it bravery.
Can I proffer this? I don't think we could do D-Day right now. We'd fail.
Oh God, no.
Yeah, for sure.
The German, we'd be speaking German at this point.
That's right. We would.
Yeah. And the Japanese would have landed in Hawaii as a refueling stop to get to the States. Oh, yeah. And we'd be sitting there going, this isn't fair. We need to have a meeting.
Yeah.
Then you insert the Washington Post meeting as what we would do as they came onto the shore. Hold on here. Yeah. And people most people think we're whacked when we say stuff like that, but just watch stuff when something goes wrong. People, You know, someone falls down, people get back up instead of going up to help the person. I
Yeah.
mean, it's like, what? That's so un-American. So
We've lost our sense of collective duty and collective freedoms. The importance of collective freedoms. I mean, you know, half of millennials and Gen Z want socialism. That's
Yeah.
a gap of we have lost our understanding of what freedom is supposed to be about.
We've lost our understanding, period. These kids actually literally don't know what they're talking about. I've been
No.
harping this. I'm probably never going to let this go. The funniest fucking thing I've heard in 20 years is Queers for Palestine. It's like, you know, right. Yeah, sure. Wow.
Yeah.
Bruh,
Yeah.
let's go to Palestine and be queer. That sounds like a great idea.
Yeah.
Okay.
they'll
Yeah,
let you
thought-
right in too. They are not. Gonna
Oh yeah,
stop
right
you.
up to the top floor and then
That's
right off.
'cause they love examples, and you volunteered for it. Right this
Oh
way.
my God. It's
Get
hilarious.
Express, and
hilarious.
you'll be up there in a minute.
Oh God. So
Yeah.
in the Breitbart Business Digest wrote something last week, a few days ago, about the fact that, and this kind of part of this segues into what you're talking about here. And they're talking about economics, of course, but their thing is that the Biden administration is trying to convince you that your reality isn't real. You know,
Mhm.
that economically they're still harping on this shit. Well, you know, the economy is really good. You just don't understand what's going on. And that's
Right.
bullshit. And we all know that's bullshit. And any economist knows that's bullshit too.
Yeah. Yeah. This is the amazing part is that we have Fauci sitting up spouting lies and people know the injuries. They know that the vaccine was shit. I mean, they know this stuff. They don't have to be convinced any other way. It's no longer this, oh, well, you're wrong and you're going to kill grandma. It's you caused irreparable harm. Yet they're still lying.
Yeah.
Yet they're still and it's the same thing with the economy. People know that they're paying. I spend probably $1,000 a month on groceries just for two people.
Oh man.
Because we eat well. I refuse
Yeah.
to eat garbage.
Yeah.
So
No, I'm the same way. Right.
And that's in a smaller area. Think of what people who actually have a family.
Yeah,
And
I'm guessing, Jennifer, that your expenses for food are less now where you're living than they were in LA.
In some ways less, in some ways not so much, because it's affecting everybody. I mean, we're closer to the source, which helps.
Yeah.
So I'm able to bypass the middleman of groceries chains and grocery stores, but there's still a lot that I have to go to the grocery store for. So, yeah.
I'm just appalled. I do the shopping for our family, and I'm kind of like I go to different places to get different stuff, and effectively now, I think Conaway corrected me on this, but I know this isn't really true. But effectively, to me, in the last 18 months, everything in the grocery store has gone up essentially 50%.
It's gone up a lot. There's a whole chart that shows just how much.
Yeah.
That.
And I know it's like it's different for different things too, and all that sort of stuff. But in my perception, that's what I see. That
Yeah.
And the perception is the reality, because just because X is down 50 cents, Y might be up $1.50. So the feel at the checkout is it's all up.
That's
right. That's the problem with these economic Poindexters is everything's up. And so there's no safe haven to get away from the crush.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't eat if you decide, hey, I'm not going to eat healthy, I'm going to eat junk food. You can't go to McDonald's.
That's even worse. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
a
not
happy
only you
meal is
spend a
now
lot, you feel
$25.
terrible. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, again, that's why we just as citizens that have to live by each other and work with each other just have to remember this thing's it's going to be painful as they try to flail around. But our humanness means we got to help our neighbors. That's who we got to help. And they might not be exactly in the same thinking line as you, but that's okay. You don't want to live with everyone that thinks just like you or is just like you. I mean, our diversity is why we're great.
And you're right, Jeff. The thing is, it's not really diversity of skin color, race. It's a diversity of thought. That's what it is.
Yes,
Right.
which is fine.
And we don't care where you lean politically. Everybody knows that the economy sucks.
Yeah, you got it.
And the ones that are gaslighting and denying are the people that live in a bubble that, you know, that they're willing to spend $75 on DoorDash every day.
Yeah.
You know, that's unrealistic for anybody, let alone, you know, someone.
But you can laugh at them and do it in a polite way, like, oh, so yeah, you can afford the $75, but you're really burning gas. That's kind of a waste, isn't it?
Yeah.
Aren't you driving a Prius or a, you know? And then it's like, yeah, I mean, you can publicly shame them about that because they'll spend the $75 and drive the Prius. So you get your jab in there.
Yeah.
Because that's just, I mean, and the diversity, the government wants us to feel we have to identify our diversity by everything else. But the really thing about the political diversity is, and this is my latest thing, because I watch MSNBC every day, because I think it's important to understand, you know, how are they approaching these topics? I mean, I because of Conk, I read a bunch of conservative news every day, and it's just like anything else. I need to balance it to understand. Again, that's why I came up with this. You got a kid in a trailer park, and you got a kid that crossed the border. They're going to meet at some place, and the kid that jumped the border is going to get all these frills the kid in the trailer park only dreams of. He's actually here, and their conversation, the kid in the trailer park is going to go, Mom, who picked that kid to be the winner over us?
Yeah.
And that's the problem, because the person that picked the winner of the border jumper, we don't know who it is. They're nameless.
Yeah, we do know who it is. And frankly, whether it's the trailer park or the illegal alien, they both need to get out of the cable news bubble. And some people are, and actually go out and experience the world and listen to what the other person is saying. And because everything is going to be defined, whether it's right cable news or MSNBC left cable news, it's being divined from the lens of, you know, divisiveness as opposed to what unifies. And the goal of the way we win is that we don't allow the divisions to happen. that the trailer park kid and the illegal alien kid recognize that I'm being manipulated, and how do we fight you?
It is really amazing that the public, after 50, 70 years of my life of watching this, all of a sudden people are really starting to get the message that they're getting screwed.
Yeah.
I mean, and I'm thinking of especially of the black community. I mean, you have 50 years of the Democrats pandering to the black community, and it's like they seem to have finally figured this out, or some of them anyway. You know,
it's not about finally figuring it out. It's about before it was, yeah, we know you're both skeezy. We know both parties are skeezy, but
yeah.
At least the other party bothers to come around and pay attention to us a little bit, and they're also not, you know, pretending not to be racist.
Yeah.
Right. Because really, above all else, we kind of value that you just kind of be honest. If you're a racist, tell us you're a racist, and we can make one choice or another, and that's part of the problem. What the game changer is that things suck. Things were way better under Trump than they were under this present president for minorities, for blacks, for Hispanics. And we recognize that, and you can't tell us otherwise.
Well, also,
because
Jennifer,
we had that 4 years of Trump to see.
I just assume it's also because Trump actually pays more attention to them too.
And that too. That instead of, you know, don't believe your lying eyes and here, look over here, you know, bright shiny object, Trump is actually going into their neighborhoods
Yeah.
and attending their churches and hanging out. I mean, literally hanging out, not photo op this and cook out. You know?
I was really amazed when that guy in Detroit, the pastor in Detroit, said, Barack Obama never came here, and I didn't know that, and that surprised me.
Good Lord, Barack was as staged as everybody else. It was all, that whole thing was manufactured, especially he's black like us stuff. It's like he grew up in Hawaii. He's biracial.
Oh, we don't even have to get Barack Obama might possibly be the most coddled elitist person who's ever been president of the United States. I mean, it's really ironic. He's a black man, and that's not the stereotype at all. But he was. I mean, he was a very, very coddled elitist person, and still is.
Yeah.
Him and Woodrow Wilson. I mean, it's like these guys. That's the irony. First black president, man. I mean, he was like the most elitist person ever. I mean.
And Trump isn't looking at the skin color. He knows because of the vastness of his businesses, everyone's going to show up to work there. So that can't be even part of part of the sorting out, or I pick this group over that group to affiliate with closer. His vast business means he looks at them as humans that could help his business grow.
Yeah.
So everyone brings value till you prove you don't have any. He doesn't care what color, flavor, sexual orientation, any of that stuff. Again, that's what happened to the newspaper. They lost focus. Their customers walked away, and their way of fixing the problem is to attack the guy that said the customers walked away, instead of looking at each other and going, we knew that, we better go get them.
Yeah, isn't that unbelievable? I don't know.
Trump
they were sold a lie like everyone else, but they just think they're too smart to have.
For sure, yes.
They were sold the lie that you can just spout and indoctrinate and all this other stuff and you'll get paid forever. And it's like, no, you need a product or a service or something that of value, and you get paid for that value. That's the way I grew up. that was my understanding. And when I stopped being valuable or they find no use for me, then I go on to the next thing.
Yeah. You guys just touched on this, but it's the difference. There's a difference between intelligence and wisdom. And let me ask you this. I'm not certain wisdom can be acquired. Maybe you're born with it. I don't know.
No, it can be acquired.
Okay.
You have to pursue it zealously. But
if we're going to go into the assumption, though, why is there so relatively little of it? I mean, it seems like there's less now.
Because
they took it out of the schooling, right? Now you go to school and they teach you, they give you knowledge.
They teach you how to think.
Yep.
Yeah,
but no wisdom.
They don't teach you how to think. They teach you what to think.
Yeah,
interesting.
And so you need both knowledge and wisdom, but you can't. If you just have knowledge, you can never have wisdom.
Well, that's exactly the problem.
I disagree with that. I heard this great definition of the difference between wisdom and knowledge. Knowledge is having the information. Wisdom is knowing how to apply the information.
Yeah, but right now we have a whole bunch of people who are highly, highly educated, and they have no wisdom, and partly because they can't tell the difference. It doesn't even occur to them.
Yeah,
you know,
it's just knowledge.
They don't understand. First of all, that whole privilege thing. We all suffer from that privilege of education is a right. This is a right. That is like, no, it's not. Do you know? I was close enough to a family history of people who had to fight to be educated.
Yeah.
So I honor the fact that, wow, it is awesome that I am able to go to this college and get this knowledge and all of that, but this whole privilege thing of, I get to, I go to school and that's it, as opposed to, no, there are people who fought and died and made it possible for you. And there are people who pay taxes to make it possible for you to get this now useless education that you're getting.
Yeah, and since okay, and speaking of that, let's segue into this. At what point are we paying too many? When does the public say enough about paying taxes? I mean, it's the Democrats.
I truly don't get it. I do not understand why there has not been a bigger tax revolt than there has been, and there should be.
This country was founded by people who revolted against taxes, and
yeah,
they're way,
exactly.
way worse now than they were 250 years ago.
Yeah.
I mean, so, well, it's okay.
And we know exactly where it's going, and so why are I mean, we have useless representatives who are voting for Ukraine funding. And people. I interviewed a person running for Congress in California. God bless him, and the creek rises that he'll get an inroads. But he made the point of that we are enabling human trafficking. There are so many things that we are choosing to enable because we will not stand up and say, no, my tax dollars will not be used for that. And finding ways, first of all, voting these people out, because that's really, it's like, you're not doing my bidding. It's time for you to go.
There's a problem though when
it's happening on small scales, but not to a large enough scale.
That's just what I was going to say. So you're talking about places like New York and California that are so democratically oriented, and the Democratic Party has done a really good job making conservatives basically look evil. There's a lot of people, especially on the coast, who will not vote for a conservative under any circumstances.
Right. Vote blue no matter who.
Yeah.
And literally, I mean, what's happening in California is that Prop 47, which was something that they bamboozled the people to vote for, saying, oh, it's about safer schools and safer streets. Now we know crime is up the yin yang, retail crime is horrific. And they got together, and this is like a miracle, the way it was a miracle that they almost recalled Newsom. Got together enough people for their signature drive. The signatures were valid. It is now on the ballot. Yeah. Newsom has tried 9 ways to Sunday to get it removed from the ballot. Now the supermajority is trying to insert poison pills in current legislation to basically say, well, if we pass this stuff and you vote on Prop 47, we're going to get rid of all, those things will die. It'll be your fault if crime comes back. I mean, they literally are hijacking the will of the people.
Yeah.
And this should be getting bigger news. They literally have leaked emails where the governor's office threatened the organizers of this initiative. Sitting up threatening them that, if you don't do this, we want you to take it off the ballot. We want to wait until 2026 where Newsom's fingerprints aren't all over it. It's really what you said, Jeff, that these people keep voting for the same pain and suffering, even though it is obvious at this point that, no, we don't care about you. We care about our power. We care about our will. We do not, this will of the people stuff. No, that doesn't exist. Right. You're a fool. And, don't believe your lying eyes and think that you can change this, because you're not going to. I would take it as a challenge. Other people, I don't know what's going to happen. So we'll see.
I didn't know this. I was just reading this afternoon that Gascon, the DA in Los Angeles County, 16 people on his own staff have sued him for dereliction of duty. I mean, his own staff members.
Yeah.
He's got his own staff members have gotten harassment lawsuits filed against him, and one of them won damages for it because he's a horrible boss and a horrible DA. Yet there are. I think the polling is Nathan Hochman is the person running against him. And the polling still has maybe 20-25% who thinks he still should remain in office. It's like, who are these idiots? These 25% of people that like crime. Maybe they got armed security. Who knows? Or they spend a quarter of their year in Los Angeles going to trial. It's like, who are these people?
Well, a poll just came out.
You have the president's Secret Service being robbed.
In
Los Angeles.
It's the craziest thing ever.
You got a problem.
Unbelievable. So a poll just came out yesterday, I think it was. It said that you were talking about the 25% of the people are still voting for this guy, and people have said, well, under normal circumstances, actually Trump should be 20 points ahead right now. But
Yeah.
the reason he isn't is because supposedly the polling said there's still people who are not, they're not voting for Biden, they're voting against Trump. And
Yeah.
and the delusion, the Trump derangement syndrome thing, I'm having a harder and harder time accepting. And I have a lot of friends who embody this. They just think Trump's just the most evil person ever. No real rationale behind it, no real facts. They just can't stand the guy, And I don't understand. I'm starting to have a hard time, even in my mind, just justifying this. This is bullshit.
Yeah. You'd rather have a dementia popsicle than someone who, frankly, actually pretty successfully ran the country if he could.
Yeah. Well, and that's the other thing. He's already done it once. I mean, it would be one thing if he was an unknown quantity, but he's already done it once. He did a pretty good job. Yeah. Way better than we have now.
Yeah.
But as a MSNBC consumer, daily consumer, what you are forgetting is Trump will never leave. He's not going to take his last 4 years.
That's correct.
He's never going to leave. He's going to insert his kids into, it's going to be like a third world country
like he did it the last time.
Correct.
Right.
It's like it would have been ripe for him to do it in 2021, don't you think? That was J6 was supposed to be about insurrection and
it's.
Again, nonsense.
It's the Democrats saying
those people are crazy, and I can't stand listening to. God bless you for doing that, Jeff. Because I watch it either for comic relief or just to be appalled. I mean,
that's the thing. So Jennifer,
face doesn't move.
Jeff's not telling the entire truth here. Part of the reason he watches is he want to see Joe and Mika bicker. That's part of it. But also, Jeff, I thought of you just yesterday because Scarborough's throwing these videos up on the screen about these cheap fakes, and he's talking about the fact, well, the Fox News says these are real, and he literally says to the camera, lies, lies, lies. And I'm thinking, no, buddy, you're the one who's lying. It's
right.
Well, I don't know if you saw this in real time or not. You watch. I don't really watch anymore.
Oh, always. He's out and he kind of leans in. He reminds me of some of my frat brothers because they're just so full of shit. And it's like you just sit back and you let them go. I mean, you don't interrupt them. And then he's talking about Jackie Robinson and baseball, and then he gets into the Boston Red Sox, and it's like you're just a frat rat. And he likes to say that Republicans are just standing around at the golf course. But again, I laugh at the Biden family. It was a couple $1 million. Well, now, according now that Hunter's laptop is true, it's $120 million that they're pushing around. I mean, I had said to Jim earlier, Jennifer, the Trump kids would have looked at $120 million and said, we don't stoop down for dimes. Yeah. Where the Bidens that have got no idea what an accomplishment is, $120 million, they're like Shangri-La. This is it.
That they were the original grifters.
Yeah, for sure.
Joe Biden has grifted off of the government for 50 some odd years. What do they know of actual accomplishment?
Yeah, nothing. He has no clue how this country works.
I thought if this debate comes off, I don't know if you guys heard my intro to the show about the fact that I'm not convinced they're going to have this debate a week from Thursday. I think there's a very good possibility Biden might drop out. But if they do, and of course Biden will say at some point, probably in the first 3 minutes, he'll say, well, my opponent is a convicted felon. And I think the best thing Trump could say is, well, my opponent is an unconvicted felon. I mean,
yeah, exactly. Yeah, I was listening to Hannity today, and he was talking to JetBlue Bill, your love boy.
Who?
JetBlue Bill.
Oh, yeah, right, yeah.
That's what I call Bill O'Reilly because
Yeah,
he
I
got
know.
snaked
And
off by the.
Oh,
for
he's
those
still
of you
around?
who are watching, Jeff has always asserted that Bill O'Reilly is my boyfriend, but whatever. Okay.
But so JetBlue Bill is saying, and he had a good point. He's like, if Jake Tapper and Dana Bash don't put any hard questions to Biden, Trump should take the angle of, hey, Jake, I'll answer that question in a minute, but President Biden, don't you think you really should be answering and ask a hard question? Since Jake and Dana won't ask it, I think the American people should understand what you think about whatever, and just confuse that old bastard. He'll shit his pants. They'll have to have someone kick the cord out, and they'll have to scrub him off.
Well,
and say, "Oh, we got a technical. The power's out at the CNN."
But Jeff, that's
studio.
not really a joke. I mean, it would be so
No.
easy at this point to confuse this guy that I mean, I could see this completely going off the rails.
Oh, for
Totally.
sure.
Well,
No matter how
they
much
already
juice they give
have
them.
muted mics. No, so no crosstalk. Only a certain limited questions. There's just rules on top of rules, so that it's basically a controlled environment, so that he can maybe do okay. But as you said, it's a wild card. Depends on how great the mids are doing.
And Jeff is right. You know, if Trump could use his 2 minutes every now and then to completely befuddle the guy, totally, you know.
Well, and they're banking on this controlled, the way they think they're going to control it will help a dementia orientated person. They have no idea. They've never taken someone with this kind of mental
this level of and sundowning is real. It's like this is going to be after a certain hour. You've seen how he is jet lagged, on a Normandy beach.
Yeah. And Jeff and I have talked about this many times. They'll fill his butt with Adderall, but it'll last about 45 minutes. Usually that's what they can get a good 45 minutes out of him. After that, he's downhill, and this is 90.
Yeah. So and when do you give him that shot?
Yeah.
The second he steps out there?
Or that's right. 3 minutes before it goes
15 minutes early. He's only got 30 minutes.
That's right. Yeah.
Right.
That's right.
It is. This is not worth the risk for them. I don't think he shows up.
I'm thinking that too, Jeff. I don't know.
I don't know why you would play that card.
Yeah,
the president's not feeling well.
Well, so let me ask you guys about the speculation about, there's a lot of scuttle right now that if he does badly on this debate, they're going to replace him. I don't know who they is. Apparently they is Pelosi, Schumer, Obama, and Clinton. Bill Clinton. That's
probably mostly Obama.
Yeah, right. That's right. They're going to pull the same thing that Bob Dole did with Richard Nixon in 1974. They're going to go up to the White House and say, "No, it's done. You're done." And the weird thing is, if you stop and think about that, relatively speaking, this is way worse than Watergate.
Yes. Oh yeah. I mean, I was gonna say that earlier, is that the fact that we are just talking about this is horrific.
Yes, it is.
This is a real constitutional crisis that we're talking about how to prop up a sitting president who is not well.
And Jennifer, they don't seem to care. I mean, that's the thing.
And they could care less. All they care about is having their placeholder on power. And I don't know who they're preparing. I'm hearing Hillary.
And I think that's the problem, Jennifer. They don't have anyone. They've totally miscalculated because of their arrogance.
Yeah.
Newsom's is way too damaged because everyone knows
we did a good job. Red State, Jennifer Van Laar, me.
Yes, 100%. You guys labeled him as a terrible leader for a massive state. So if he can't run a massive state right, what's he going to do with the country?
Yeah.
Kamala is out in the public less than Joe. So she's totally a negative. And then from there, are you flipping coins or what are you doing? And when it comes, I was Marty, Jim, I forwarded you that article from Marty about Walter Mondale, a Minnesota guy, obviously vice president of President Jimmy Carter. Walter Mondale was a typical attorney, couldn't do anything in the courtroom, and by the grace of God, he got all these political appointments. And it hit me the other day reading this article. It's like Jimmy Carter didn't have a chance. He was dragging around Joe Biden.
Yeah.
So if Carter said to Mondale, "We're having this issue. What do you think?" Mondale wouldn't have had anything productive to give him because he never contributed in society, and he's an attorney. So they have no idea. They just bill because they wrote something down, whether it's right, wrong, helps a client or not. And so I just think that some of this is just justice back on this kind of thinking, that your arrogance you think is going to get you and everyone else over the hill, and they're stalled on the hill without any good options. I don't envy the person that has to go to Joe and say it's over. Nixon had his wits with them and could get on that chopper and give the final wave. Joe Biden's going to kick and scream, and they'll never be able to shove a microphone in his face again because he will absolutely go off the rails about, I can't believe they removed me or told me I couldn't run again.
I don't see that either. Because frankly, he's not the one pushing for another 4 years. It's Lady McBiden and whoever the puppet master are behind the scenes that are pushing for this.
Do you think there's any chance?
So you think he would go if they said, "Joe, we got another option. You can go retire"?
No, she will not accept.
She won't let him.
No, she won't let him.
I also think that he, regardless of his cognitive state right now, I think if you look back, he has a history of basically disillusionment. I mean, the guy doesn't live in reality, whereas Nixon more or less did. I mean, you know.
Yeah.
Nixon didn't take a lot of, Nixon was screwed by circumstances, but he did not take a lot of convincing them otherwise. I mean, he knew it,
He knew when to exit the stage. I'll just put it that way.
The thing that Nixon didn't do, I've always maintained this, that if Nixon had come out the day after they busted into the Watergate building and said, "Look, these 8 guys got caught, I had nothing to do with this," which was actually true. He didn't. He had nothing to do with it.
And if he had just thrown them all under the bus, he'd be fine.
That's right. Exactly. We're going to throw them in jail or put them in court. We're going to try them. And he apologized. End of story. Would never heard of it ever again. Once, as always, it's the cover up that gets you, and he tried to cover it up. That was the problem, and Carter's a really interesting thing, Jeff, because you're right. The thing about Mondale, in some ways, he's like Joe Biden, and that is they pushed him as this really nice guy. He's and Mondale, actually, from all I understand, he's actually was.
He was a nice guy.
Yeah, he was. But like you said, he couldn't really do anything.
He didn't know how to do anything.
No, he didn't. No. Well, that's actually true of Obama too. I mean, Obama couldn't. I look at Obama as a guy, extremely intelligent man who had no real talent. He couldn't actually do anything, as opposed to like Clinton or Trump.
His talent is that he knew how to manipulate his charisma.
Yes, that's absolutely correct. You're absolutely right.
That's a talent in and of itself.
It is. You're
he's
right.
Not stupid. He knew who to connect himself to, and he knew how to manipulate that. And he also, I mean, he had powerful people, powers behind the throne, pushing him and helping him along. And
Carter, the entire time Carter's term was going to hell, he was at least asking people what he could do. He acknowledged the fact things were going badly. Biden's never done that ever. And I don't know if it's because he doesn't think so or he just won't do it publicly. I don't really know. There's a part of me that thinks in his mind he thinks things are great. I don't know. And I don't know if that has anything to do with his decline or anything. I don't either. But, it's different circumstances in ways. Although I'm starting to think that, like Jeff, like you were saying, I think when people get in the voter booth in November, there's way more people going to pull the lever for Trump that will actually publicly say so. I think it's going to be a
or
complete utter
someone
blow.
else. I
Yeah,
mean, that
right.
another commentator was making the point that all of these other candidates on the ballot, our RFKJ probably will pull some votes from Trump, but Cornel West, Joe Stein, they're still running.
Yeah, that's true.
They're nobody's gonna vote. Nobody who would have voted for Trump will vote for them,
Right.
and vice versa. People who aren't going to vote for Trump but aren't going to vote for Biden are going to vote for Stein and Cornel West, and these nutso case progressives. They're going to vote for them, and that's where the vote split's going to happen. But I agree with you. There's probably people who may be saying, I'm not going to vote for blah, 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 blah. But once they get in the voting booth, it's just like, let's stop this nonsense.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Well,
and if I'm wrong, he only has 4 years, so I can be wrong. I'd rather bet them that I'm right.
It's going to make I think running mate is going to make a huge difference for the people who are kind of on the fence. Or
you guys have any predictions?
I am so on Team Donalds for a number of reasons.
You mean Brian Donalds?
Byron Donalds.
Yeah,
yes.
Byron Donalds, right.
He's young. He's sharp. He knows how to actually fight in a way that is not, ugly fighting. It's just he knows how to defend the point. And the black vote.
Yeah.
Where they don't relate to Tim Scott or think he's credible. Byron is one of them.
That's really interesting, Jen.
They will sit down with him. So
I split my prediction between Donalds and Scott. I think it's going to be one of the two of them. But you think you don't think Scott comes off as like authentic, or?
Well, it's not even that he's inauthentic. It's just his world, his reality of being a black person is way different from the young people now and the millennials and the Gen Z. And Byron Donalds can relate to that. The other one, if you want to deal with the suburban white woman thing, I think Elise Stefanik may be up there as well. So
interesting.
We'll
Jeff,
yeah,
what about you?
And I think it's time the Republican Party lined up a guy like Byron to be able to succeed and get a shot at 8 years.
Yeah,
because I don't see his character changing with the power. Mm-hmm. And then the whole thing just kind of can go away. Right. that whole discussion. Obama just whipped it up so much about race and all that crap that someone the country needs to have someone else on the other team make their presentation for 4 or 8 years about this is how I see it from, this is the difference between me and Barack Obama. We have the same skin color, but this is how I think we just make the world go back to, we're all Americans.
Yeah, I think that's the argument that needs to be made, is that we are all Americans. We've got this wonderful diversity that we need to celebrate. Yes, but we also are just, bottom line, we are in America. We are the American nation and American people, and we have the same values, and we agree on our values, and we find diversity in our differences.
And it isn't your fellow neighbor that's holding you back.
Right.
If you're a minority, it's the system that doesn't want you to leave their club. I don't care if I have to compete with you in the marketplace. One of our ideas will be better, just the way the marketplace works, but the way the government traps certain people into their system and won't let them be free from it. That's what I think. That's what I would love to see. I've got grandkids, and I'd love that in the next 10 years, the fire Obama started can be put out, and we don't ever have to address it again as a nation, and we can move on and make the world better. That would, to me, be the best thing that can happen from 24 going forward, starting in 2025. That
You guys are you're both so inspiring. I'm getting a little verklempt right now.
no, it's time. Like I said, 58 years the Democrats have run the state I'm in. It hasn't affected my earning ability, but I look around at the people it has and say, you vote for them. That's why you're trapped. You won't look in the mirror and say, I'm the problem, because I'm voting for the same thing, thinking it's going to change.
Yeah.
And I'm tired of that. And I think from a national dialogue, Byron Donalds can pull that off. It can be honest and true and talk from the seat he has, because he's got different skin color than me. So I can't address the things he's had to deal with, but he can fix them because he's in the government and understands how to shut that out of the government. And
well,
it's
not even, I don't even think anybody's looking or believes anyone can fix anything except to take the government off our necks. And that's one of the things that Byron talks about is it's just time to get rid of all of this big government, free the American people, get back to constitutional principles.
Hey, let me give you guys an example of wasteful government spending. So the national what's it called? The
NEA, National Education Association.
No, the DIA, the
Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion.
No, Department of Intelligence, which is like the oversight of the FBI and CIA. So they hired for Pride Month. They hired a bunch of nail technicians to go around and paint pride flags on people's fingernails. So your tax dollars paid for that. Just to point that out. That's right.
And the queer guys coming to hang out with Kamala at the White House.
Queer for Palestine.
And again, that's a problem when you're rich, and we're all citizens of a very rich country.
When it's not your money.
They can throw your money around as much as they want.
Because they did nothing to earn it. They don't understand how it's earned, people's blood, sweat, and tears, or what it costs to build something. That is one of my points of anger with them constantly attacking independent contractors and entrepreneurs is that, do you know how long it takes to build a reputation in business? And you're going to tell me, well, you're no longer valid.
Yeah,
you
and
just
also
need to be an employee.
And profit's really bad. You shouldn't make.
You got to work for the man. You got to get on the gerbil rule. You can't be independent. Yeah,
I'm going to go to sleep at night and look at
it's insulting.
Yes,
it's highly insulting and it's rude, and it comes from the attitude of someone who has never built anything in their life, never accomplished anything in their life.
Well put, Jennifer.
They don't understand how offensive it is to try to take it away.
I'm going to let you guys go now, but is there anything anyone wants to say? We've been partying.
Good night.
Queer for Palestine.
That's right. Queer for Palestine. Yay. Yay. All right, and Jeff, it's not good night because I'm going to do part 3. I got UFO stuff to talk about. It's very important,
That's right. They found one of those metal objects just north of Vegas, baby.
That's right. I was going to bring that up. That's right. And nobody knows who's putting them there. It's like, it's just weird.
It's probably you.
Yeah, probably. Yeah,
you and Don Zarro.
That's funny. Jennifer Oliver O'Connell, you are at thegirlturns.com.
As thegirlturns.com.
Right.
For all of my places where I'm at, redstate.com, 1819news.com.
And also, Jennifer, I asked you to stick around for a second because we're going to do this. Jeff is a CEO and publisher of Conk.com. And here's Conk.com. And I don't know if you guys can see this or can tell, but while we were talking, the front page flipped over. So these are some of them anyway, are new articles from when I ran this commercial 45 minutes ago. So Jeff,
It'll happen.
any comments? It's free. You don't have to register.
I don't ask people to register. Just go to conk.com. It will update. It's me. I don't touch any headlines. I don't embellish any of the pictures. Whoever worked hard to put this news story together, we want them to have all the credit. And if their headline catches your eye, click on it. It will take you directly to that news source. And it's a way to keep up on conservative news. Like I say, I watch MSNBC every morning because you can't eat out of the same trough every day. It's not healthy. And the Joe and Mika angst is well worth it in the morning. And we really appreciate Jim plugging conk.com. It's something I think the left has all sorts of sources where it's put together and easy to get a bunch of news. That's what I wanted to do without having a bunch of gymnastics to get to it.
Yeah. It's the finest single news anchor on the internet, Jeff. There's no doubt about it. There it is.
Thank you.
So yeah, check that out. CONK.com. Just right. I keep pointing with my pointer here. You guys can't see that or whatever. Yeah. So we wanted to mention that one more time too. So
thank you. Thanks again for the coffee, Jennifer. It's been delightful.
You're welcome. I hope you are enjoying it.
I am.
Yes.
And thanks to you folks too. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for joining us. Yeah. We'll see you soon. Take care.
Soon.
Jeff Meyer from conk.com, Jennifer Oliver O'Connell from As a Girl Turns, and redstate.com. Wonderful having them. They come on once a month. It's usually the third Wednesday, usually. So Jeff talked about this, and the thing is we're not quite done here because this is part 3 of our show, and that's the way I labeled it. It's if you're in broadcasting, it should be the C block, but it's part 3 because that's what I always typed on the freaking outline, so that's what it is. I've decided I'm going to talk to Alex, the guy who does our graphics. We're going to have a little part 3 UFO intro kind of bumper for this, so I want to do that. So all right, so what's going on in the science and paranormal news? And I'll tell you what's going on. First of all, Vladimir Putin has signed a law to join the Chinese in building a base on the moon. They're going to do that, and they will do it. Because the thing is, the problem with Americans right now is our NASA, we can't get our shit together. That's the problem. I have a friend who works in NASA, and he's told me straight out, he says, Jim, we couldn't launch the Apollo spacecraft anymore. We couldn't do it. Too much bureaucracy. And he's right. I know he's right. I know that. Now, I want to address a friend of mine who thinks I'm totally in the tank for the conservative conspiracy shit. He asked me, so what do you think about the moon landing? Did they do that? Well, yeah. I have proof they actually did it. First of all, everyone saw them launch the rocket. It's Saturn V rocket at the time, not anymore. Now the Falcon Heavy rocket by SpaceX is the biggest rocket anyone's ever launched. But at that time, the Saturn V rocket, biggest launch rocket ever, they launched it. If you're going to go to the moon, it's 3/4 of the expense. You're going to go. You just spent 3/4 of the money. It's like, what do you think? So, the theory is they parked this thing in orbit and then faked the moon land. No, they didn't. They didn't because it's like it was $1 billion in 1968 money. Probably about 40 billion now. It's like, no, you're not going to do that. You're going to go to the moon. And not only that, it bears people forget about this. We went 6 times. So, one was aborted. Apollo 13 almost didn't make it back, but we still went 6 times. So, no, we went to the moon, and we're not. When supposedly we're going now again in 3 or 4 years, but we'll see. I don't know. But the Russians and the Chinese will probably beat us to building a permanent base there. They probably will, because folks, as I like to say, they got it going on. That's the reason. So, what else we got? Oh, there's that. So there's this thing that Jeff was alluding to. So another one of these, for lack of a better term, monoliths showed up in the desert outside of Las Vegas. They're about 12, 13 feet tall. This one was four-sided. The ones that have appeared previously are three-sided, shiny aluminum metal. I don't know about this one, but the previous ones had nothing inside of them. People checked. But here's the really weird thing. There's no tracks whatsoever up to that where anyone would actually, bring a vehicle or actually like, even carry it, something like to put this in the ground. It just shows up, So I mean, nobody thinks this is ET. Nobody does, but on the other hand, nobody knows who's doing it either. The one that happened in Utah a couple of years ago, some artist group claimed credit for that, but a lot of people think they're lying. I don't know. It's a very odd thing. And obviously somebody wants to fuck with the collective psyche of Americans. But still, that said, how do they do this? I have no idea how they do it. How can you do that and not leave any tracks? I don't understand. Okay, so here's another thing. So there's a story that's come out from some of the whistleblowers that have applied to the whistleblower program through ARO, I'm sorry, I gotta check. I can't remember when this actually was. I forgot this. Like they attempted. The United States attempted to retrieve a crashed UFO from the American desert, and I can't remember when. Oh, this is 1999. This happened supposedly, and they were met by small, gray, and hairy ETs who told them, no, don't do this, leave this. And apparently it was telepathic. And this is the story that's coming out here. There are people who say they were involved in this retrieval program, and more than one person has stated this. Little like queers for Palestine extraterrestrials, hairy ones. I've never heard of hairy gray aliens. Never heard of that, but supposedly that's what they were. And they said that they were begged off of this thing. They said that the ET said, "No, you can't do this. We're not going to let you." So okay, there's that. And then I got one more thing here too. Oh, this is really interesting. So Anna Paulina Luna, who I think is a congressman from Texas, if I'm right. So her and Matt Gaetz from Florida, they went to Elgin Air Force Base to check out a report that a UFO had landed there. They're congressmen, and they went to the Air Force Base, not entirely unannounced. They said they were coming, and they went there to talk to people about this. And the commander of the base basically told them to get lost. And you probably shouldn't do that to the people who are actually paying your salary. They didn't take too kindly to this. But the amazing thing is, and this story gets really bizarre. Luna says that she was approached by what are colloquially called men in black, and that is people who apparently from some nameless government agency. She was approached by three guys who told her to cut this crap out. And she told them, no, you cut this crap out. She wasn't taking any crap from these people at all. So I don't know where this ended. I don't know if they got their information or not. But just the fact that the men in black approached a congressperson, it's like, holy Christ. I mean, are they desperate? It's like they're desperate to cover this up. Yeah. I don't know what to make of this, folks. There are people in the Pentagon who think this secret should be kept at absolutely all costs. Now, I don't have to. David Grush has said this. I've said this previously, although he has way more evidence than I have. And basically, all I have is hearsay. And I speculate on the show. That's what I do. But supposedly, there have been people who've been killed to keep this secret. And then you wonder, well, why? Is it that? Maybe 50 years ago, the public would have descended into chaos if they found out that extraterrestrials are visiting Earth. Now, I don't know. I don't think so. So there's this. I I told you last night about this thing about this Harvard four um, professors at Harvard put out a story saying that not a story, a paper in a peer-reviewed journal, which is, and I'll get to that in a second because that's nuts, about the fact that their scenarios that these extraterrestrials actually aren't coming from outer space, they're already living here. In other words, they came at one time, but they're actually already living on Earth, either inside of mountains, underground, underneath the ocean, whatever, but they're here permanently and they're flying around. That's their scenario. But the real question about this is that, first of all, it's speculation. They're speculating. They have no evidence. And you usually don't get that out of Harvard. And also, the thing is, and I've known this in the past, if the Pentagon wants to convince the public of something, they just stamp a Harvard imprinter on it. It's like it's instant credibility. And the second thing is the peer review journal that this paper showed up in normally only prints either facts or experiments that are scientific experiments that have been run and the results. They don't traffic in what is with blind speculation. I mean, it's okay to write an article about this, but you want to put it in a peer-reviewed journal. How did that happen? And some people think this whole thing's very bizarre. First of all, nobody understands why Harvard put this out. Nobody understands how it ended up in the journal. It's like it's almost like this was engineered. This is designed. And then the question is, well, if that's the case, what's this designed for? And the obvious thing is, and there seems to be a long-term pattern of the government trying to basically accommodate or accustom people to getting used to thinking a certain way. Jazz Shaw has been on the show from hotair.com, from Salem Media Public. He's the UFO writer for Salem Media. And he has pointed out the fact that David Grush in those congressional hearings, not only did he never use the term extraterrestrial, he even corrected a congressman when they used that term. He said, no, I didn't say extraterrestrial, I said non-human intelligence. And the point is, and I've said this is also speculation. I got a friend of mine who watches the show. He thinks I'm freaking nuts. I don't care. But because I tell you, and I'd like to think but I do actually label it. I speculate here. That's what I do. So supposedly, there's been a rumor going around for a couple of months that Grush met with about 60 very important people from American society, people like Bill Gates, Bill Clinton, people, who are basically considered in the know and the people who are considered running things, that he met with them in an apartment in Midtown Manhattan. And he explained to them that, no, these these entities are not coming from other planets. They're already here. That's apparently what he said. So are they trying to get the public used to this idea? I don't know. I simply don't know. But the whole thing's very bizarre. And then what happened with Luna is very bizarre too. You sent Men in Black out to talk to a congressman. Jesus Christ, that's balls. Now, and I should explain this too. For those of you who don't understand the Men in Black phenomena, Will Smith, Tommy Lee Jones, and that whole movie, ha 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 ha. The Men in Black thing is very real, but the problem is nobody knows really what it is. And there's two basic camps. There's two different types of Men in Black. There's this type that are just in black suits. They're guys that come to your house. They talk to you about what you saw. Usually, they will try to dissuade you from talking about it. And then there's Men in Black who just look weird. People said they're really emaciated. They kind of look robotic. They do not look human, it's kind of like they're wearing bad human disguises. And the really weird thing, and this is true of both the camps, even the generic CIA people, sometimes they know of UFO contact where the person who has experienced it never told anybody. That's the really, really scary part. They seem to know about this stuff, even though it's not only not public, it's never been divulged. So, some guy sees a UFO or claims to be abducted or whatever, doesn't tell a soul, and 2 days later, these guys show up at his house. But the constant theme in both of these things, there's a lot of people. There's a third thing here too, and that is that the CIA guys go to acting classes just to act and look really weird and put on makeup to pretend to be the really weird MIB guys. There's that too, and I think there's a good possibility that's going on. But the common theme of all these people who show up at all these places that don't talk about this. And apparently that's what they told Luna too. They said, you don't want to look into this. And she basically said, go F yourself, which is good. The woman's got a lot of balls. I got to hand it to her. It's pretty cool. Anyway, yeah, that's what's going on right now. Who knows? I think I got to have Jazz on the next couple of weeks. We got to talk to him again. So these people, I don't know if you can look back in our archives on Rumble. We did a UFO panel. It was Jazz, John Greenwald from the Black Vault. That's at theblackvault.com. Now, Greenwald spent his entire career. He's collected about 3 million government documents from the Freedom of Information Act or through it. And I've said that his trove there, his archive, is the primary reason I can claim that I'm virtually certain that the government has at least 6, if not 9 or more crashed extraterrestrial spacecraft. I'm virtually certain of it because there's so many damn government documents that allude to this. That's the thing. Now, the really weird thing is, I don't know if I ever asked John when he's on the show, and I should. Maybe we're going to have him on again too. There's very few. I only know one single document that actually talks about aliens, but there's plenty of documents that reference UFOs, unidentified flying objects, plenty of them. That's not a problem. The only document I know that references aliens is the one in the FBI archive online at the FBI vault, where it's a 4-page memo. I think it's called the Hotel memo, if I'm right, Guy Hotel, who was a special agent for the FBI, and I think it's dated in 1958. I think Hotel writes back to the Home Office. It's a memo, and he asks, "We have this crash extraterrestrial spacecraft and these 3 dead aliens. What do you want us to do with them?" That's basically what the memo says. It's the single most viewed thing on the FBI website, and the FBI said this is just a giant misunderstanding. It's like, no, this never happened. No, the Hotel didn't know what he was talking about. Oh yeah, tell me about it. Yeah, right. Yeah, so if you have 3 dead little gray aliens, like, what are you mistaking that for? I don't know. Like Tang or it's like, it's like this. It's like the thing at Roswell about the fact that's okay. So Roswell, and this kind of gets lost in the whole story if you don't know about this. So Roswell puts out a press release. The actual Roswell airfield puts out a press release saying we have a crash flying saucer. That wasn't from the public. It wasn't from the newspaper in Roswell. It was from the actual airfield. The Army airfield at Roswell says we have a flying saucer. 24 hours later, they corrected it. They said, no, it's a crashed weather balloon. We're really sorry. All right. So the Roswell airfield was the only single military base on the entire planet in 1947 that was wired for nuclear weapons. The only single one. That's because we had the only nuclear weapons. We dropped them on Hiroshima and Nagasaki 2 years earlier, and the people that dropped them were the people from Roswell Airfield. They did that deed. So because of that, it was the single biggest concentration of brains in the entire U.S. military was at Roswell in 1947. The best and the brightest worked there because they were the only people who were authorized and knew how to deal with nuclear weapons. They were the only ones. So you're going to tell me that they couldn't tell the difference between a crashed extraterrestrial spacecraft and a stupid freaking weather balloon? Bullshit. It's a bullshit. It's like, I don't know. Bullshit. I call bullshit. I want to thank you folks for watching. I want to thank Jeff Meyer and Jennifer Olive-O'Connell again for joining us. Great discussion tonight. We're taking tomorrow night off. We usually do Thursdays, but I'm still kind of recovering here a little bit. I figure by Monday I'm going to be at a full force, and I'm having a little bit of energy issues, so I don't want to push it really. That's the deal. Monday night, Michael Harrison from the band Gun Hill Road and the publisher and CEO of Talkers Magazine. They just had their annual convention too. It is the Talk Media Convention in the United States. I could not make it because I had surgery. I was flattered as hell. Last year I was invited I mean, I don't know. These people barely know me, and it's invitation only. You can't. You have to. Not only do you have to have an invitation, that you're vetted. You have to actually be a member of Talk Media to get in. And they invited me last year, and I had a hell of a good time. I was looking forward to going this year too, but I couldn't. So we'll have Michael on. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about their new Gun Hill Road music video called Artificial Intelligence. We'll talk about the concept of artificial intelligence and a few other science things that are on Michael's mind too. Fascinating guy. Guys, now Michael Harrison is credited with inventing the album-oriented rock format, the AOR radio format. And if you go back to the 60s and 70s, that was him. He did that. So not to mention a whole bunch of other really cool stuff. He started Talkers Magazine, which is the Bible of talk media in the United States. So, at any rate, I'm looking forward to talking to him. I want to thank you folks for watching. Good night, Esperanza. Good night, Uncle Donnie. And good night to you, wherever you are. We'll see you on Monday. Take care.